And we're going to finish up the 7th chapter of Black Hearts in Battersea. Simon has agreed to take Dido to the fair, and as he's finishing cleaning the portrait that belongs to the Duke, he ends up telling Justin, the young Lord Bakerloo, that he will take Justin as well, even though Justin doesn't think Buckle will allow it because Simon and Dido are so low-born. Well, Buckle sees the painting that Simon has cleaned, and it sparks his interest somehow, although Simon can't see anything too exciting about a dark-haired boy on a pony. And we will pick up where we broke off. The Duke was in front, with Her Grace the Duchess, followed by Midwink, the sour-faced valet, and Sophie, besides a couple of footmen and an elderly lady's maid who was alternately wringing her hands, examining a hole in a large opera cloak she carried, and lamenting at the top of her voice, "Oh, my lady, cloth of copper, tissue embroidered with fire opals, 14 guineas the inch, ruined, and lucky you was not to be all burnt in your seats. Oh, why wasn't I there?" "Nonsense, Fibbins, we did quite well without you," the Duchess replied briskly. "Now, Scrimshaw, don't stand about gaping, and bring refreshment. We have all had an unpleasant experience, and our spirits need sustaining. His Grace wants prune brandy and Stilton, while I will take a glass of black-currant wine and a slice of angel cake. So will Sophie, I'm sure, won't you, my dear? Indeed, without your cool head, I don't know where we should all have been. We should certainly not be here now." "No, indeed," interjected His Grace. "Gal's got a head on her shoulders, worth 2 of any of those dunder-headed ushers at Drury Lane. Very much obligated to you, my dear. Shan't forget it in a hurry." "Oh, truly, my lady, and thank you, your Grace, it was nothing." Hearing this praise of Sophie, Simon could not resist lingering. "Hello, you there, my boy," His Grace cried, discovering him. "You work where we play, eh? And better it would have been if we'd all stayed at home minding our own business. Here's such an adventure we've been through, only just escaped with our lives, thanks to clever little Miss Sophie here." "What happened?" Simon asked, no longer attempting to conceal his lively interest. "Why, my lady wife drags us all off to the opera, and a miserable plaguery show it was, too, I don't mind telling you. I can never make head nor tail of these fellows warbling about their troubles. Pack of nonsense, if you ask me. When anyone can see they've never wanted for a good dinner in their lives. All of a sudden, in the first act, we all smell smoke, and next thing you know, the whole of our blessed box is afire, curtains, carpets, and all. And can we get out? No, we cannot. Why do you ask?" The Duke, in his excitement, had quite thrown off his usual vague air. "Why, because the box door is locked, and though we shout and call, nobody can find the key. We should all 3 have been nicely frizzled for anything anyone could do, if it hadn't been for our little miss here." "What did Sophie do?" Simon asked, absently accepting a slice of cake and a glass of black-currant wine from Scrimshaw. "Why, she outs with Madam's embroidery, which, as you may know, is a piece of tapestry big enough to cover the end wall of this room, rolls it into a rope, hangs it over the front of the box, and tells me to slide down it." "And did you, your Grace?" "To be sure I did. Haven't had such a famous time since I was a little feller in nankeen snuffers sliding down the stair rail at Chipping's Castle." And did her Grace slide down the rope too?" Simon inquired, much astonished. "Bless you, no. Took a fit of vapours at the very idea. So we was all in a flim-flam if Sophie hadn't thrown the tapestry down and called out, 'Hold it tightly by the corners.' So I and half a dozen other gentlemen held it out tight, while Her Grace and Sophie jumped into it, one at a time, of course, as Her Grace's weight nearly pulled my arms out of the sockets, didn't it, my dear?" "Such an indecorous thing to be obligated to do," sighed Her Grace, fanning herself with a piece of cake. "Yes, and it's my belief that you'd hardly have done it if little Miss Sophie hadn't given you a smart push from behind, eh, miss? I saw you," said the Duke, grinning at Sophie, who blushed but defended herself. "Her Grace was hesitating a little, and really there was no time to be lost. The flames were already catching her cloak." "Ruined! 10,000 guineas worth of copper brocade!" wailed the lady's maid. "Oh, be quiet, Fibbins. You should be grateful Her Grace Oh, be quiet, Fibbins. You should be grateful her Grace herself isn't burnt to a crisp, instead of that miserable cloak. I've never liked above half. Yes, and 2 minutes after they jumped, the whole box crashed down into the stalls. What do you think of that, eh?" Simon then recollected his manners and took his leave, sure that the ducal family would not wish the presence of a stranger after such an alarming adventure. The Duke clapped him kindly on the back. "Off, are you? How's the picture getting on?" "What, done already? Come, that's famous. I'd no notion you'd do it so quickly. See, Hetty, doesn't it look better?" "Indeed, a great, great improvement," her Grace said warmly. "I'd no idea that dingy old painting could be made so bright and handsome. Why, good gracious! William, look at this. Only look." "What, my love? What has surprised you?" "Look at this girl on the pony." "That girl, my dove, is a boy. Observe his breeches." "Girl or boy, what does it matter?" said the Duchess impatiently. "But whichever it is, he or she is the very spit image of Sophie." And that is the end of chapter 7.